Hey everybody. In this video, we're going to look more closely at subject-specific databases, including how to find them, why searching them is going to really help you find better sources, and then a few other important tips that you'll want to keep in mind. So let's say that my research topic is how video games affect mental health. And an important first step when I'm going to do my research is to figure out what discipline my topic falls into. So another way to think about that would be what department at the university might teach a course that would talk about my topic. So in this case, I would probably think that psychology is the best bet for my topic of video games and how they affect mental health. So to this point, we've been using Academic Search Complete as our database. So as you remember in Galileo, you can just click the A to Z list and the A, and then get into Academic Search Complete. So for last week, we were mostly searching in this resource, and as I mentioned, this is what's called an interdisciplinary database, so no matter what your topic is, you're going to find some results, most likely. So I did mental health, video games, and if I were really trying to do quality research, I would want to add some synonyms using the Boolean operator OR to broaden my results. But for now, we can just keep it simple and click search. So you can see we got about 130 results. Again, I'd find more results if I kind of broaden my search by adding some synonyms for those key concepts. But basically, this is what we did last week. We looked at Academic Search Complete. We talked about some of these different ways you can limit those results, like, for example, updating it so only scholarly results show up, so eliminating things like popular magazines or newspapers. We could play around with some of the subjects here. But in general, if I want to do thorough research in any specific field, I'm going to need to look at subject-specific databases. And for your topic selection worksheets, you were supposed to find at least one of these subject-specific databases, but to this point we haven't really looked at them too closely. So Academic Search Complete has a list of about many thousands of journals that it searches, but it's far from everything out there. So what I want to do is find a database that specializes in psychology, and it's going to have many more articles drawn from different academic journals, and it's not going to include every single topic like Academic Search Complete does, so it can really focus on psychology and is going to have more stuff that's going to help me. So to do this, I'm going to want to jump back. I'm going to go back to the Galileo subject page. So from the main library homepage, you just click Galileo, and the default is the subject listing. And I'm going to want to look for the Galileo subject guide to psychology. So it's not here on this list, but you can expand any of these by clicking. And I know that psychology is a social science, so sure enough, just by clicking social sciences, psychology link is right here. And this is going to be all the databases that were decided to be related to psychology. So you can see Academic Search Complete is kind of a starting point you can use. But what I want to focus on are some of these other databases, and these are all examples of subject-specific databases. So Psych Articles has articles in psychology, clinical theory, research. Then there's Psychology Journals, which has full-text coverage from some top psychology and related publications. So instead of Academic Search Complete, which covers all topics, this is just going to focus on psychology and closely related subjects. So for my idea of researching video games and how they affect mental health, I'm going to want to focus on some of these subject-specific databases. So I'm going to open this Psych Articles one up in a new tab, and the first thing you might say is it looks exactly like Academic Search Complete, so I might have made some mistake. But no, this is actually how it's supposed to look, and the important thing to understand here is that there's actually a difference between a database vendor, or the company that made these resources, and the actual database. So sometimes people refer to EBSCO as the name of a database, but in reality that's just the vendor, and to actually see the specific database that you're searching, you can click this Show All link here near the top, and you can see the databases included are now Psych Articles. So I'm not searching Academic Search Complete, even though it looks kind of exactly the same. So that's an important thing to keep in mind, is that there's a difference between the provider, which in this case is EBSCO, and we get many different databases from them, so they're going to look basically the same, and the actual name of your database, which determines what kind of stuff you're going to actually find. So Psych Articles is going to just focus on psychology, and it's going to have a lot more coverage than Academic Search Complete. So let's just jump back out and try a different one. So Psychology Journals is another good one in the field of psychology. And you can see this one has a different vendor. So this is made by a company called ProQuest instead of EBSCO. So you'll notice that this has a very different looking interface. And it's going to look a little bit different, so I'll just jump back to psych articles just to demonstrate. And you can see, it just looks different, but it's really kind of the same thing. You can see there's different boxes for key concepts and keywords. They both have the Boolean operators. In the ProQuest database, psychology journals, you can see we actually have different key concepts already separated by OR, so that can be a little easier if I wanted to do that and get a more precise search. So you'll also notice there are some additional search options that we didn't get in the EBSCO database. It has the age groups here. So if I wanted to limit to adolescents, so 13 to 18, I could choose that, and it's just going to bring back studies that talk about that age group, so I could filter out unwanted results. And you'll actually notice that there actually is an age group limiter in psych articles, where you wouldn't find this in Academic Search Complete. So there actually is kind of a similar feature here in both subject databases, but you wouldn't find that in Academic Search Complete. So I'm going to go ahead and do my video games and mental health search now that I've checked the adolescent box. And you can see I got about 380 results, but these are going to be a lot more specific than the ones I found in Academic Search Complete. And as you'll notice, the results, the filters for limiting your results, over here they're on the left, over here they're on the right. They're going to be slightly different, so you can see you can limit to scholarly journals just about the same way you did on the previous EBSCO database. And there's some other things you can do, like subject, location. So when you're doing your research, it's important to kind of look at these different ways you can then filter results. And you see there's also suggested subjects at the top. So if I want to do computer and video games and adolescent, I could click that. And it's going to narrow it down to articles that were given the subject, so the controlled vocabulary that I've selected. So now I'm down to much more specific resources. So that's a little bit just what I wanted to show about searching subject-specific databases. And so far we just looked in the Galileo subject listing to find them, but there's just one other place I want to highlight as another place you might want to go to help you find some subject-specific databases. So right above Galileo, we have these research and citation guides, and these should look familiar because I had you do this for our virtual scavenger hunt in our first week of this course. So you should already be a little familiar looking at this, but now we want to return to these resources because they're a great place to find subject-specific databases. So in my case, you can see there's psychology right here, so I'm going to click psychology. You notice there's a few different guides, and some of them you can tell were created for specific psych courses. So I'm not in any of those classes, so I don't really need that. But you can see this one, just called Psychology, is the general subject resource. So from here, you basically navigate using these blue tabs at the top, and you can see one of them is Articles and Databases. So what I'm going to do is see that the subject librarian who created this guide from here at Ingram Library has basically picked out just a few psychology databases that are considered kind of the top ones in the field, so good places to start. And you'll notice Psychology Journals is one that I just found from Galileo, but this is something called PsycInfo, which I didn't actually use from Galileo. It is there in Galileo, but if you want to just jump back into the Galileo list, and I'm just going to demonstrate. PsycInfo is here, but I didn't notice it because there's kind of so many here, and if you look down at the bottom, there's a ton of other resources it suggests. And a good reason to pick these research guides to find subject-specific databases is the librarians have done a lot of the work for you and kind of whittling away some of these resources that might not be quite so specific. And you can see here there's just a couple that you might want to try. So in this case, I would definitely want to give PsycInfo a try, and when you get in here, you'll notice again it's the EBSCO interface, so it looks exactly the same as Academic Search Complete and the other psych articles one I searched. But as always, I can just click Show Databases to see that I'm actually searching this resource called PsycInfo. So that's all I wanted to show today about subject-specific databases, and I encourage you to try both of these out in our exercises for this week.